Hey, fight fans, a great show in store for you today. It's not only about the girls. We have Bodog Fight's bad boys with us for an exclusive sit-down interview. Plus, you could win a lot of free stuff today, only on Jay's BrawlCall. Hey, Jay Adams, BrawlCall TV on the Fight Zone TV network. We are thrilled to have two very special guests with us from none other than Bodog TV. Jeff Osborne, the commissioner of Bodog, is here. Paul Lazenby, commentator, and also a Muay Thai and MMA champion in Canada, are both here. Guys, we're thrilled to have you. Thanks for visiting with us on BrawlCall.
Nice man! Oh, man, right punch to the chin! Right, left, right, oh! Champion of the world. How's that sound to you? Man, it sounds great!
Welcome to Jay's BrawlCall.
First thing out of the gate's gotta be jealousy. I have nothing but jealousy for you guys. These fights you're doing in Costa Rica, beautiful weather, beautiful girls. How did you pull this off? MMA in Costa Rica.
Don't be jealous. It's hard work, man. I mean, I'm sitting on the beach with beautiful bikini girls around watching world-class MMA. We got sweat rolling off our brows.
I can tell it was tough.
Oh, yeah. No, actually, as far as I'm concerned, I got hooked up with Bodog through a guy named Greg Allen. He's not with the company anymore, but I've known Greg for a bunch of years going back, and he called me up one day. He was in a panic because he had taped the mixed martial arts event, and he needed to lay a voice track down on top of it for the next day. He couldn't afford to pay anybody to do it, and he can't do it. So I went in and did it as a favor and just kind of forgot the whole thing. And then about a year later, when Bodog was being put together, Greg was a part of it. So he gave him this DVD and he said, check this guy out, maybe you want to put him on the commentary team. So I got an email asking me if I wanted to come to Costa Rica and try out. And
twist your arm.
Yeah, you would think, but it was actually a tough decision because I'm a stuntman too, and I had a lucrative job lined up on a TV show. So I kind of had to weigh one against the other, but I saw enough potential in Bodog, even at that early stage, that I thought this is probably a good gamble where I could actually potentially make a second career out of it, and it was definitely the right choice in retrospect.
Jeff Osborne, you're one of the founding fathers of MMA. You've been running a very successful promotion in Evansville, Indiana forever, and profitably running that promotion. And that's one of the big reasons Bodog brought you in.
Yeah, it wasn't always profitable. There were a few dark years that had to get through. But again, you're talking about a company who is restructuring and taking in these mistakes I've made into consideration in the past, and I'm glad someone's doing it. This is the first company who started out as gangbusters, and they said, wait a minute, what are we doing wrong? What can we do to fix it? Rather than just go down the tubes like every other company. So they are listening. They want to grow. You'll be seeing them sponsoring a lot more shows this year.
And that's one thing we can't overemphasize. It's just kind of our ace in the hole because, like you said, hook and shoot has been around for a decade and a half. Through the darkest days of the sport, surviving without outside support at all. So if there's a mistake to be made, Jeff's done it. And if there's a right way to do something, Jeff discovered it. So he's definitely the go-to guy in the company.
Blast a bang! Now he throws him down.
One of the aces in your hole, Calvin Ayers, the owner of Bodog, an extremely successful businessman. He is a billionaire with a B, and it must be nice having a big guy behind you who has the money to spend. You can compete with big promotions.
I wouldn't call it competition so much as coexisting, and that's Calvin's mindset too. This is a guy that really surprised me when I actually met him. He's like maybe the world's only humble billionaire. He really is a nice, down-to-earth guy who really legitimately loves the sport. But he never looked at it like, we're going to take Dana White out of the box. I always say, and Jeff Osborne always says, from a promotional standpoint, mixed martial arts shares a lot more in common with pro wrestling than with any other fighting sport. And so to draw the pro wrestling parallel, if you go into wrestling and you say, I'm going to take out Vince McMahon, I'm going to take out the WWE, it's not going to happen. They're the incumbent superpower in that particular area. What you want to do is find your own niche within that whole sphere and build your own company, build your own image. And I think Bodog has been doing that very successfully by not taking the confrontational attitude.
I definitely want to talk more about that, talk about what we can look forward to in 08. First, let's tackle some of the fights you've had, some of your personal favorites. I'll tell you one of my personal favorites, and this again goes back to the fact that you have money to spend. You guys were able to put Fedor Emelianenko in against Matt Lindland. First, we're going to give props to Matt Lindland, a natural 185er for getting into the ring with Fedor Emelianenko. Gave him a good fight, but how difficult was it to put that fight together, and what was the reaction of the fans?
In actuality, it wasn't that hard to put together. It's like, hey, we have Fedor. Anybody want to fight him? Randy Couture went on record to say we offered him a lot of money. I'm talking a lot of money. He turned it down. Matt Lindland said, hell yeah.
Randy turned it down?
Yeah, Randy turned it down. And now that's the only fight he wants now. But, you know, we were the first outside of Pride to get Fedor. And going into Russia, I think it was 6,000-7,000 people there. Yeah, completely packed. And Paul can tell you what kind of people were there. These weren't your average MMA fans. This was, as you described earlier when we were speaking, some upper-tier people in Russian society.
Yeah, it was almost surreal. I mean, looking in the front row, you had sitting 4 in a row. You had former Italian Prime Minister Berlusconi, then Jean-Claude Van Damme, then Russian President Vladimir Putin, then K1 champion Peter Arce, all sitting in a row. It was funny, actually, somebody pointed up into the rafters, and obviously they needed a lot of security. They had snipers in the rafters. Wow. And one of the guys pointed up and said, yeah, those guys up there are just in case Lindland starts getting the upper hand.
That's the first show I've ever been to where there were just as many Secret Service members as there were like an athletic commission. So
wow.
They were everywhere.
I mean, what a thrill for Lindland to have gone over there. And this, I think, bodes well for the sport. And of course, fighting in Russia. You got the guy who runs Russia, Vladimir Putin, the president, who loves the sport. He's a grappler himself. Now, Lindland was, I had a chance to talk with Lindland after the fight. He said he was upset about, you know, that Fedor was grabbing the ropes and that he felt like he had a better shot at that fight if the ref had been stricter with Fedor. But I think that was softened up for Lindland when Vladimir Putin invited him to his palace. Yeah. Now, that had to be a thrill of a lifetime.
You know, I can pretty much tell you I'm never going to be invited to the White House. And for guys from this walk of life who are looked at as brawlers and bruisers and this and that, to get to go to a presidential palace, that's a pretty big deal. I mean, that's something you can tell your grandkids about, and it lives on forever.
You guys have had some other big fights as well. Alvarez versus Thompson. Tell us a little bit about that matchup.
Well, that's actually developed into our first full-scale feud. I mean, that is one of the things that makes me amazed at how fast Bodog is progressing as a company, is that we've already developed a rivalry like that. That's not something you can manufacture. It just kind of happened. And their first fight was unbelievable. I mean, Eddie Alvarez, it really should be a 155er, and he's been knocking people out left, right, and center in the 170 class. Nick Thompson comes along. They had a fantastic fight, and Russia takes the belt away. And because of some other things that were said back and forth in Russia, in the airports, and after the fight, we're looking at a rematch that doesn't just have the rematch appeal. There's something personal there, too. I mean, this is definitely a feud that's ready to boil over.
Another great thing I think you guys are doing, Jeff, over at Bodog, you're the first big MMA promotion to really embrace the women fighters.
Oh, I mean, I put on the first all-women show. I hate tooting my own horn when it comes to this stuff, but I put on the first all-women show in 2002 when people said, you can't do it, it won't happen. And here we are 4 or 5 years later, it all paid off. We have the best damn women on the planet. There's no denying Tara LaRosa is the #1 female out there, and people are not fighting her. Any 135s, even 125s, she's dropped down a weight class just so she has people to fight. You know, the list goes on and on. Karina Dam is always exciting to watch. The list keeps growing with the women fighters in Bodog.
And I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's just one thing that I want to emphasize before we move on to the subject, is that I think that 20 years from now, when the history books are written, Jeff Osborne's going to go down as the prime mover and shaker in female mixed martial arts. And it has to be noted, there was a lot of opposition from certain individuals who were with Bodog at the time. They didn't want a women's division. And because of Jeff mainly pushing through pioneering women's mixed martial arts 5 years ago, and then driving for a women's division at this level, this is the first time ever that women have had a true major league mixed martial arts title they can go and pursue. And as a result, Now all of a sudden there are fighters coming out of the woodwork that we didn't even know existed who are killers, because now they've got something to shoot for. So I think every female mixed martial artist on the planet owes Jeff a debt of gratitude.
Yeah, I know we're extremely thankful here in Florida. I've been telling people for the last couple of years, I'm doing fights all over the country, and there's usually, maybe one, if you're lucky, 2 women fights on the card. And almost invariably, those are the biggest fights of the night.
Steal the show.
They steal the show every time. They're closely matched. The crowd goes nuts. They say, wow, we get to watch 3 full rounds of standing up, full 3 rounds of trading. And it's always evenly, well, always, but way more than the guys.
And let's know, too, some other promotions that think women are all weak and stuff and only let them fight 2-minute rounds. 3 5s in Bodog. We treat the women the same as the guys. No other names mentioned.
Point taken there. Now, you also have a great strategy that you've employed here in 07, and you're going to take that into 08 as well. You're working very closely with promotions to support them, to help brand them. Tell me what that looks like, and if hearing you correctly, it will be a Bodog fight. You'll be supporting that promotion, or will it be the actual promotion doing the fight? I'll give you one example that comes to mind: the Strikeforce match that you had at the Playboy Mansion. I don't know how you got that one. There's another tough gig. First you got Costa Rica, then you got the Playboy Mansion. But is that going to be the model of 08 for Bodog?
Yeah, I think we're going to continue to sponsor more and more shows. It's always Bodog Fight Presents, especially with my show, Bodog Fight Presents Hook and Shoot. I don't mind calling it Bodog Fight because they're really helping me propel my organization even further than it's gone. But it's a big step. Not only do you get the sponsorship, the backing, they send a whole crew of people to help you out. A lot better looking ring girls than I'm accustomed to. And a lot of pluses to having Bodog there. Plus you get, they put on 4 fights at my last show. They paid for all those fights. So we have contracted fighters right now that we want to see them fight. They want to fight, and we'll be dispersing those fighters on other shows.
And that's part of the non-antagonistic attitude I was talking about before. Is we want to work with other companies. We don't want to work opposite. I got to crush that guy, and we got to crush those guys out there. There's room for everybody in the sandbox.
Well, let's go back. Let's touch upon that. I'm not going to shy away from that subject. There's been some words between one of the biggest promotions, if not the biggest promotions, and their leader and your leader. Tell us how all that went down, and is there bad blood there?
As far as I know, there's no bad blood on Calvin's side. I mean, he really does have an open attitude. I can't speak for I think you're referring to Dana White. I can't speak for, I don't know Dana, and I've never really discussed the situation with him. But Dana seems to be very protective of his product. Whether that's good or bad, I can't say it. But he really does seem to take that aggressive attitude toward anyone else who wants to be a mixed martial arts company, whereas Calvin's taking the opposite view. So it's hard to say if those guys have any kind of a business relationship or any kind of common ground at all, because they look at their companies so differently.
Let's talk about the website a little bit. I had a chance to surf it before talking with you guys. You had some really interesting sections in there. You have the Vault. Tell us a little bit about the Vault.
Yeah, the Vault is featuring some of the matches that we've taped in Canada, Indiana, California, a little bit of it back in Canada again. The most unique thing about the Vault that I can say, anyone out there who goes to bodoglife.net, you can download these to your iPod or whatever in full high definition. So any of the matches that's appearing on the Vault right now, that's pretty revolutionary to be able to download something in HD, and that's part of the technology. I mean, we're an entertainment company, and we're coming out with this new technology that allows us to do that.
That's bodoglife.net?
Bodoglife.net.
And it was a treat for me, especially because we got a lot of hook and shoot footage going on there right now, and there's a lot of undiscovered talent on there. And if you match them up right, you get some incredible battles. And Jeff's fights will often look like slaughterhouses because it's like you look at the results like first round knockout, first round stoppage, first round knockout. There's some good stuff. Go to bodoglife.net, check out the Vault. You will not be disappointed.
There's also another great section on the website, Bodog Battle. Tell us a little bit about that site, about that section within the site.
That was, once again, another entertainment outlet that Calvin wanted to explore. He was going to give $1 million to the best undiscovered band. And it was a nationwide battle of the bands. And I don't know how many hundreds, probably thousands of bands signed up for this. And Yeah, that's a pretty big deal to be totally unknown and, hey, we're going to get $1 million contract.
It's part of, it's funny, a stuntman I work with, he said it never really occurred to me is, Calvin's not just running an online gaming site, he's actually running an online casino. I mean, when you go to Vegas, say you go to the Mandalay Bay, what are you going to do? You can watch fights, you can go see a band, or you can gamble. Well, for the first time, that's all incorporated in one set of sites in BodogLife.net. So I think he's pretty revolutionary for having that idea and pushing it so hard, pushing all the branches of Bodog, the Bodog Corporation so hard.
Series 6 in Vancouver. Do you guys have any idea where the next series is going to come from?
I'm not sure. They're still working that out right now. We're kind of in stasis right now because our agreement with Ion Network came to a close, and we just made an amicable departure from that station, figuring that we probably weren't the best fit for the rest of their program schedule. We kind of stuck out with this whole time. So we're in discussions now with 6 or 7 networks. I'm not sure exactly how many, but we're talking with a lot of other more appropriate places where Bodog Fight can find a home. So in the meantime, we're holding back Season 6. We actually do have some fights for Season 6 are on the vault on BodogLife.net, but we're holding that back just until we get the trigger pulled on an American deal. And in the meantime, we still are running on The Score, which is a national sports network in Canada, and on the Fight Network, which hopefully will be coming here soon. Because in my mind, the Fight Network, for my taste, best station in the world, 24 hours a day of people punching each other right in the face. It's awesome.
You said it's a pretty intense network. The one thing to be careful about is that you don't get addicted to that network because it's nonstop action.
Oh man, you can write off a whole day. I mean, like I was telling you before, they had a programming block in the morning where I was like Ring of Honor wrestling, and Pancrase mixed martial arts, and UWFI shoot wrestling. I had to write off the first 5 hours of my day every day.
All right, you guys come bearing gifts. The Florida fans at home, you got a chance to win some great stuff here. We're going to have a trivia question to win Bodog, all sorts of goodies.
Swag bag.
Swag, major bag. Paul's going to tell us everything that's in this bag, all sorts of goodies. Now, here's how we're going to give it away. You got Trevor Prangley, you got Tara LaRosa, Nick Thompson, 3 of your champions. They all came into Bodog. Who was their first match in Bodog? Is that how we're going to give it away?
That's right. Our 3 champions, Trevor Prangley, Tara LaRosa, and Nick Thompson. Who did they beat in their first fights for Bodog Fight? Now, we'll give you a hint. They all happened in Season 1, which, surprise, surprise, is in the swag bag. Just released on DVD Season 1. We're going to be coming out with the new seasons later. We have some DVDs from FightWorld.com. We got Ring of Fury, which is absolutely stacked. It's like the most prestigious MMA card that nobody's ever heard of. You got names like Dennis Kang, Shelby Walker, Steve Berger. I mean, I'm not going to waste the time by running them all down, but it's almost like a UFC and Pride Who's Who in here. And a special edition of Hook and Shoot Revolution, the first ever all-women MMA tournament ever held in North America by this man right here, Jeff Osborne, in Hook and Shoot. We got a Bodog Fight hoodie, we got a Bodog Fight jacket, we got a towel, we got a baseball cap, we got a t-shirt. You can basically clothe yourself and entertain yourself for a month just out of this bag right here.
This is one of the best swag bags I've ever seen in my life. We were going to break it down into like 5 different giveaways, and Paul says, nah, let's just give it to one person.
Yeah, exactly.
So the first person who emails me at vqvproductions.net, that's V as in Victor, Queen Victor, vqvproductions at earthlink.net with the correct answer gets this entire swag bag. Email right now. First one with the correct answer gets it.
Yeah, hurry up, because I didn't get one of these, and so I'm thinking about maybe just going back to Canada with this, so you better be quick.
That's huge. Jeff Osborne, Paul Lazenby.
Great to meet you.
An honor and a pleasure. Bodog, give us that network again so we can make sure we tune in. At the Fight Network.
We are on the Fight Network, which is soon to be coming to the USA. We are on The Score in Canada. Anybody who happens to be from Canada watching this right now on The Score, soon to be coming to American TV. Don't forget to check out the Vault and all the other cool stuff on BodogLife.net. And on a personal note, if I may, since I'm in Florida, Kimbo and Iceberg Mike, how you doing, guys? I wanted to get out and see them, but I couldn't, so how you doing?
Last time I saw you, Matt, you were squaring off against probably the toughest guy in the world at any weight, and that, of course, is Fedor Emelianenko. First of all the props in the world for getting into the ring with him. Tell us what that was like. What was that experience like? I mean, the president of Russia was there. Vladimir Putin was there.
Yeah, and he invited Fedor and myself over to his house for coffee after the fights, and it was, that was kind of surreal, getting invited over to the palace for coffee and tea, and the fight was great, and the I love Russia. I've been over there many times, wrestled there, competed there. I've got a lot of fans in Russia, so it was a good place to wrestle, and it was a great place to fight. So I was very happy to go over there.
And it must be nice to be in a country where the president of the country really appreciates the sport. He's a grappler himself.
Yes, Mr. Putin is a master of sport in judo, and he understands, the kind of training that goes into combative athletes and what they do to get to the level they're at. And so he was very appreciative of what we did.
And the fight itself, I know you were very disappointed. It was in your face. You really knew that you had way more to give. Let's talk about the issue of Fedor grabbing the ropes. If you're in a cage, that doesn't happen.
No, he doesn't grab the ropes. He grabs the fence. I mean, it all comes down to if you're going to have a certain set of rules, you must enforce those rules. And I mean, that's really all it boils down to. Fedor did what he was supposed to do. He's going to bend the rules, and we're all going to do what we can to get the advantage to win. And I respect him a lot as a fighter. He's a phenomenal athlete. I mean, way more agile on the ground than you would think a big guy could be.
Yeah. So let's talk about weight. You really puffed up to get up to that weight. First question is, did that affect you in the fight at all? And second question is, where do you see yourself? What weight are you going to be fighting at in the future?
Well, I still think I'm a middleweight at heart. I think right now I'm over 200 pounds, but not much over. I don't think I was ever over 200 before I moved up to heavyweight, and I've seemed to keep some of the bulk. I did a lot of strength training for that fight. I had a great strength coach and put me through a lot of workouts, and I haven't lost a ton of that size. It said 212, but I think I had my boots on and my jeans and all that stuff. I was probably about 204, and I'm still just over 200.
It sounds like light heavy might be a nice natural weight for you.
Yeah, but the light heavyweights are ginormous.